The morning sun cast long shadows across Bill Harper's cornfield when the alien ship appeared. It descended silently, a sleek vessel no larger than a school bus, touching down between the rows of corn without disturbing a single stalk. Bill stood frozen beside his tractor, coffee mug suspended halfway to his mouth, as he became the first human to witness an alien landing. Within an hour, military helicopters swarmed the area. By noon, the small Kansas town of Riverside had transformed into a hub of international activity. News crews lined the hastily erected barriers, and a mix of scientists, military personnel, and government officials hurried about with purposeful strides. Dr. Laura Bennett arrived with the third wave of experts. As one of Earth's leading xenolinguists, she had spent her career preparing for this moment, though she never truly believed it would come. Her hands trembled slightly as she organized her equipment, but her voice remained steady as she briefed the UN representatives. "Remember," she told them, "every gesture, every sound could have meaning. We need to record everything." The alien door opened with a soft hiss. Three beings emerged, walking on two legs in a way that seemed almost human. Their bodies were covered in something that looked like flowing mercury, and their heads were slightly too large for their frames. They moved with careful, deliberate steps. The first contact team consisted of Dr. Bennett, two UN officials, and a military escort. As they approached the aliens, Laura noticed how the visitors' skin seemed to shift colors slightly, matching the golden hue of the surrounding cornfield. The lead alien raised its hand in what appeared to be a greeting. Laura mirrored the gesture, and to everyone's surprise, the alien spoke in perfect English. "We are the Zentari," it said, its voice carrying an odd musical quality. "We have been watching and listening to your broadcasts. We come in peace." The next few hours passed in a blur of introductions and preliminary discussions. The Zentari explained they had chosen this location for its remoteness, and that they represented a larger galactic community. They seemed particularly interested in human culture and requested access to Earth's entertainment databases. "We find your species fascinating," the Zentari leader, who called itself Harmony and Light, explained. "Your broadcasts have reached far into space. We wish to understand you better through your stories." Dr. Bennett and her team set up a secure viewing station inside a hastily erected command center. They provided the Zentari with access to a curated selection of human media: movies, books, television shows, and games. The aliens seemed especially drawn to science fiction. At first, the Zentari watched with what appeared to be mild interest. But as hours turned into days, Laura noticed subtle changes in their behavior. They began asking increasingly specific questions about certain stories. Their color-shifting skin displayed more rapid changes, especially during scenes involving alien civilizations or advanced technology. "This story," Harmony and Light said, pointing to an old science fiction novel about a galactic federation. "How did your author know of the council chamber's design?" "It's just imagination," Laura explained. "Fiction." The Zentari exchanged looks that made their skin ripple with dark patterns. They requested more science fiction, then more, their agitation growing with each passing hour. On the fifth day, Laura overheard two of the Zentari speaking in their native language when they thought no one was listening. Their musical tones had turned sharp, almost discordant. Though she couldn't understand the words, their anxiety was clear. That evening, the Zentari announced they needed to report back to their superiors. They departed as quietly as they had arrived, leaving behind more questions than answers. As their ship disappeared into the darkening sky, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that something about humanity had deeply unsettled their visitors. In her final report, she noted that the Zentari's greatest concern seemed to center around human creativity. Specifically, how accurately our fictional stories sometimes portrayed real galactic civilizations we couldn't possibly know about. It would be another month before they discovered just how right she was, and why the galaxy would soon pretend Earth didn't exist. Special Agent Peter Mills spent his third straight night reviewing footage of the Zentari's media viewing sessions. His eyes burned from staring at screens, but something about their reactions bothered him. The aliens had gone through hundreds of science fiction stories, their skin changing colors more rapidly with each passing hour. He paused the video, rewinding to a particular moment when the Zentari watched an old space opera from the 1980s. Their mercury-like skin had turned a deep purple, a color they'd never displayed before. He made a note of the exact scene. A meeting of galactic representatives in a circular chamber with floating platforms. The next clip showed their reaction to a popular video game about alien civilizations. Again, that same purple color appeared when the game depicted a specific type of faster-than-light travel. Peter started mapping these color changes against the content they were watching. Agent Mills. His office door opened, and Amy Roberts from the data analysis team stepped in. "You need to see this." Amy spread several documents across his desk. She had compiled a list of the specific moments when the Zentari showed the strongest reactions. Each one corresponded to a different piece of science fiction media. "Look at the patterns," she said, pointing to her notes. "They're not just interested in our stories. They're disturbed by them, especially when we get things right." Peter leaned forward, studying the data. A novel from 1973 describing crystalline-based computing. A movie showing a specific method of atmospheric terraforming. A comic book's depiction of alien architecture. All of them had triggered intense reactions from their visitors. The office phone rang, making them both jump. It was Dr. Bennett from the linguistics team. "Agent Mills, we've decoded more of their private conversations," she said, her voice tense. "They keep using a phrase that translates roughly to knowledge contamination or truth seepage." Peter grabbed his coat and headed to the linguistics lab. The place was buzzing with activity even at this late hour. Laura's team had been working around the clock to analyze the Zentari's private conversations. On a large screen, they showed him a visualization of the aliens' language patterns. Certain words appeared more frequently when they discussed human entertainment: impossible, breach, containment, and protocol. "They're scared," Laura explained, pointing to the data, "but not of our weapons or technology. They're terrified of our stories." Peter shared his findings about the color changes. Together, they began cross-referencing the moments that caused the strongest reactions with known scientific principles and technological concepts. A junior analyst rushed in with a new report. The Zentari had just finished reviewing a collection of internet fiction about first contact scenarios. Their final private conversation contained what seemed to be a warning. "They see too much. They know too much. They must not be allowed to continue." Peter's phone buzzed with a message from the monitoring station. The Zentari were packing up their equipment, preparing to leave ahead of schedule. Their skin had taken on that deep purple color and stayed that way. Through the observation window, he watched them hurrying to their ship. They moved with an urgency that hadn't been present before, almost forgetting their practiced, careful movements. One of them dropped a data pad in their haste. Amy managed to grab the device before their cleanup crew could collect it. The screen showed a comparison between Earth's fictional faster-than-light drive designs and something labeled Classified Imperial Technology Specifications. The similarities were impossible to ignore. As the Zentari ship vanished into the night sky, Peter looked at the stack of evidence on his desk. Humanity had spent centuries imagining countless versions of alien life and technology. In their fiction, they had described thousands of possible ways the galaxy might work. And somehow, hidden in that massive library of human imagination, were accurate descriptions of things they couldn't possibly know. Things that made an advanced alien species flee in terror. Peter opened a new case file and began to type. Evidence suggests extraterrestrial visitors extremely disturbed by humanity's ability to accidentally discover universal truths through creative works. Ashley Martinez stood in the newly constructed Alien Communications Monitoring Station, watching lines of data scroll across her screens. After the Zentari's hasty departure, she had been assigned to track any alien transmissions leaving Earth's solar system. For 3 weeks, She had detected nothing but normal space noise. Until now. The signal was subtle, barely distinguishable from background radiation, but it matched the frequency pattern the Centauri ship had used. Ashley adjusted her equipment, fine-tuning the reception. The alien transmission became clearer. She reached for her phone to call Peter Mills, then stopped. Something about the data pattern looked familiar. Not from her work with the Centauri, but from an old science fiction story she had read as a teenager. The communication method was almost identical to one described in the book. "Hey, can you come look at this?" She called to her colleague, Sam Cooper. He wheeled his chair over to her station. "Does this pattern remind you of anything?" Sam studied the screen, his forehead wrinkled in concentration. "That looks like the quantum wave messaging system from Star Frontiers. You know, that old novel about space colonization." Ashley pulled up a copy of the book on her tablet. The description matched almost exactly, even down to the specific frequency ranges used to avoid detection. A chill ran down her spine as she remembered Agent Mills' findings about the Centauri's reactions to human fiction. She called Peter, who arrived within the hour. By then, Ashley had detected 3 more transmissions, each using methods that had been described in various science fiction stories over the past 50 years. "They're trying to hide their communications from us," Ashley explained, "but they're using methods we've already imagined in our stories. Look at this." She showed him the similarities between the alien signals and the fictional descriptions. "It's like we somehow knew their secrets before we met them." Peter's face grew serious. "Can you decode what they're saying?" Ashley nodded. "That's the strangest part. The decryption key. It's similar to one described in a children's science fiction book from 2010. Once I realized that breaking their code was easy." She pulled up the decoded messages on her main screen. The Centauri were reporting to something called the Galactic Council. Their transmissions spoke of humanity's dangerous insight and unexplained knowledge contamination. One message stood out. Humans possess partial awareness of 83% of classified galactic technologies through what they call fictional works. They have described 7 of our most secret facilities in their entertainment media. 3 of their movies contain accurate depictions of council chamber meetings that occurred before Earth achieved radio technology. Sam, who had been quietly reading through the decoded messages, pointed to another transmission. "Look at this part. They're talking about human creativity as some kind of psychic ability." The message read, "Theory. Human imagination functions as uncontrolled form of universal knowledge access. Their storytellers unknowingly tap into galactic information through method unknown. Recommend immediate containment of information leak." Ashley spent the next hours scanning through more transmissions. The aliens were growing increasingly panicked about humanity's ability to accidentally guess their secrets. They had found exact descriptions of their technology in human stories, precise details about alien species humans had never met, and accurate information about galactic politics that should have been impossible for Earth to know. "They think we're all psychic," Ashley said, looking up from her screens. "They believe our imagination somehow lets us see their secrets without realizing it." Peter nodded slowly. "And that's why they ran. They're not afraid of our technology or our weapons. They're afraid of our stories, afraid that we might imagine something they don't want us to know." In the following days, the transmissions grew more frequent and more worried. The Centauri were calling for emergency meetings, discussing protocols and containment procedures. They seemed desperate to stop humanity from accidentally learning more of their secrets through their boundless imagination. Chris Baker sat in the dark monitoring room, his eyes fixed on the largest screen showing a live feed from one of Earth's deep space telescopes. The Galactic Council meeting was about to begin, and thanks to the decoded Centauri transmissions, they knew exactly where to look. The gathering of alien ships appeared exactly where Ashley's calculations predicted. Massive vessels of different designs clustered around what seemed to be a central space station. Some of the ships looked eerily similar to designs from popular space movies and games. "Recording everything," said Linda Carter, his fellow security officer, her fingers moving quickly across her keyboard. The council meeting starts in 5 minutes, according to the intercepted schedule. The communication array they had built using concepts from various science fiction stories worked perfectly. Crystal clear audio and video streamed in from the alien gathering, auto-translating thanks to the decryption key Ashley had discovered. The council chamber looked like something straight out of a 1960s science fiction novel. Floating platforms arranged in a spiral pattern held representatives from different alien species. Chris counted at least 30 different types of beings, many of them matching descriptions from human stories written decades ago. First item on the agenda announced a tall, silvery being that reminded Chris of a character from an old TV show, The Earth Situation. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. The Zentari representative's skin flashed that now familiar deep purple as they presented their findings. Our investigation confirms our worst fears, the Zentari said. Human entertainment contains accurate descriptions of 15 different faster-than-light drive systems, including the new Argon Pulse design that hasn't left development labs. 23 classified species, including the hidden mist-dwellers of Proxima 7, and most disturbing, accurate layout details of this very chamber. Chris and Linda exchanged glances. They had found that exact chamber description in a novel written in 1962. A large crystalline being spoke next. How is this possible? Their planet has been under standard observation protocols. They have no access to our databases. We believe, the Zentari continued, that human imagination acts as an uncontrolled form of universal knowledge access. Their fiction writers unknowingly tap into galactic information through their creative process. Every story they tell risks exposing our secrets. Another alien, this one looking like a cluster of glowing orbs, moved forward. We have confirmed 372 separate instances where human entertainment media has accidentally revealed classified information. Their rate of accuracy far exceeds random chance. The council chamber filled with concerned whistles and clicks. Chris quick labeled each new alien species they saw, matching them to descriptions from Earth's science fiction. We must implement Protocol 223, said a dark, shadowy figure that made Chris think of a villain from a popular space opera. Earth must be contained. The vote was quick and unanimous. Chris watched as the council laid out their plans. Earth would be erased from all galactic records. Advanced cloaking technology would hide alien ships from Earth's instruments. All mentions of Earth would be banned in galactic communications. They're going to pretend we don't exist, Linda said, shaking her head. They think if they ignore us, we'll stop accidentally learning their secrets. Chris nodded, still taking notes. But they can't actually stop us from seeing them. Not when we've already imagined ways around every security measure they're planning to use. He pointed to his screen, where the council was describing their new planetary cloaking system. The design matched almost exactly with one described in a science fiction story from last year. The meeting continued for hours as the aliens laid out their plans to hide from Earth. Chris and Linda recorded everything, noting with increasing amazement how many of their supposed secrets had already appeared in human stories. When the council finally adjourned, Chris began preparing his report. Humanity now knew the truth, not only about their unique ability, but about how much the galaxy feared it. The question was, how would Earth use this knowledge? Captain Mary Thompson stood on the bridge of the experimental starship Aurora, watching as her crew prepared for their first deep space test flight. The ship looked nothing like traditional space vessels. Instead, its design came directly from a science fiction story written 30 years ago. The Aurora's hull curved in impossible ways, following patterns that the author had described as flowing like liquid starlight. Back then, critics had called the design impractical and impossible. Now Mary knew better. "All systems ready, Captain," said Alan Foster, her chief engineer. The story got everything right, down to the last circuit. It's almost scary. The Aurora represented humanity's response to Protocol 223. While the galaxy tried to hide from Earth, Humans had started building technology based on designs found in their own fiction. Every story that had matched the Centauri's classified files became a blueprint. "Starting deep space scan," announced Betty White, the sensor operator. The scanning system came from a young adult novel about space explorers. "Captain, I'm picking up something." Exactly where that old TV show said there'd be a trading post. Mary walked to Betty's station. The screen showed a massive structure trying very hard to be invisible. Its cloaking technology matched perfectly with what they had learned from the council meeting. "They're still there," Mary said, "just pretending we can't see them." "How many ships in range?" 12, Betty replied, all using the same cloaking method described in Star Voyages back in 1995. The book was off by just 2 power conduits. Over the past 6 months, every major space agency on Earth had found similar results. The aliens were following Protocol 223 perfectly, hiding their ships and stations behind technology they thought Earth couldn't detect. But humanity had already imagined ways around every hiding method they used. Mary's personal tablet beeped with an update from Mission Control. A science fiction magazine from 1987 had just been confirmed to contain accurate descriptions of 3 more alien species. The story's author, now an elderly librarian in Ohio, had no idea he had correctly guessed the biology of beings on the other side of the galaxy. "New signal," Betty called out. "A ship just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're using, yes, it's the Rainbow Drive method from Children of the Stars." That book might be 30 years old, but it described their technology perfectly. Mary watched the alien ship on their sensors. Its crew had no idea the Aurora could see them. As far as they knew, Earth was safely contained, unable to detect their advanced technology. "Send the data back to Earth," Mary ordered, "and plot our next course using the star maps from Galaxy Quest." Those turned out to be surprisingly accurate. The Aurora moved silently through space, collecting data on everything the aliens tried to hide. Each scan confirmed another piece of human fiction that had accidentally revealed the truth. The galactic community's greatest fear had come true. Their security measures were useless against humans who had already imagined ways around them. "Captain," Alan called from his station, "the new engine design is working perfectly, just like the book said it would. We're ready for long-range exploration whenever you give the word." Mary nodded, looking at the star-filled view screen. The galaxy thought that by ignoring Earth, they could stop humans from learning their secrets. Instead, they had pushed humanity to look deeper into their own stories, finding real technology hidden in their imagination. "Take us out, Mr. Foster," she said. "Let's see what other secrets our writers accidentally discovered." The Aurora glided smoothly through space, invisible to the aliens trying to hide from Earth, proving with every moment that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or weapons, it was their endless imagination, and its mysterious connection to the universe's truths. Dr. Kevin Wright spread dozens of old science fiction magazines across the large table in the analysis center. Each one was marked with colored tabs, showing where the stories had accidentally revealed real alien technology. His team had spent months comparing fiction with the data collected by the Aurora. "Look at this pattern," he said to his research partner, Jane Cooper. This author wrote 3 stories in the 1970s that perfectly described alien power systems, but in between, she wrote dozens of stories that didn't match anything real. Jane nodded, adding the information to their database. "It's like tuning a radio. Sometimes they pick up the right frequency and see the truth. Other times, it's just static." The room around them buzzed with activity as other analysts compared more stories with the Aurora's scans. Every day they found new matches between human fiction and alien reality. A shelf of old paperback books had given them the designs for 5 different types of alien engines. A comic book from 1983 had shown them how to build better sensors. "Dr. Wright," called out Danny Brown from his computer station, "you need to see this. Remember the kids' show about space explorers from the 1990s? the one with the silly-looking aliens. Kevin walked over to Danny's screen. The show had featured aliens that looked like walking crystals. Everyone had laughed at the design back then, calling it too strange. "The Aurora just found them," Danny said, pulling up the sensor data. "They're exactly like the TV show described, right down to their color-based language." The show creator said he made them up while doodling during his lunch break. Kevin sat down heavily in a nearby chair. They had known human imagination could somehow tap into galactic knowledge, but the scale of it was still shocking. Humanity had been accidentally learning the galaxy's secrets for centuries, storing them away as entertainment. "New data coming in from the Aurora," Jane announced. "They've confirmed matches with 3 more stories. And look at this, they found a space station that matches one from your daughter's coloring book." The Analysis Center had become Earth's most important research facility. While the galaxy pretended humanity didn't exist, Kevin's team collected every piece of science fiction they could find. Old books, forgotten magazines, unpublished stories. Anything might contain hidden truth about the universe. "I think I understand why it works this way," Kevin said, looking at the wall of evidence they had gathered. "When we write fiction, we're not limited by what we think is possible. We imagine freely, and sometimes we accidentally imagine things that are real." A junior analyst rushed in with a stack of papers. "Sir, we found something big. Remember that novel about peaceful first contact that everyone said was too optimistic? The one where aliens helped humanity join a galactic community?" Kevin nodded. The book had been criticized for being unrealistic, too friendly. "The Aurora found proof that the Galactic Council has a secret program exactly like it. They help developing worlds join the galactic community, worlds that don't have our ability to guess their secrets." Jane pulled up the book's details on her tablet. The author wrote it after having a dream. She said the story just came to her complete, like someone had put it in her head. Kevin walked back to his table of magazines. Humanity's imagination had turned out to be their greatest asset. While the galaxy tried to hide from them, humans had already discovered their secrets through stories. Their fiction writers had been unknowingly preparing Earth for the stars long before first contact. "Keep scanning everything," he told his team. "Every story, every show, every game. The truth is hidden in our imagination, just waiting for us to recognize it." The Analysis Center worked through the night, finding more matches between fiction and reality. With each discovery, humanity moved closer to understanding their unique place in the galaxy, a species that could see through any deception simply by dreaming up the truth. Commander Susan Clark watched the final preparations for humanity's first official faster-than-light test flight. The ship, Starweaver, looked nothing like the sleek vessels in movies. Instead, it followed the exact specifications from a short story written by a high school student in 2002. "Engine startup sequence beginning," reported John Adams from the control room, following the pattern exactly as described in the story. The Starweaver's unusual engine design had come from a teenager's imagination. Back then, the story had won 3rd place in a school competition. Now, it was about to make history. In the observation room behind her, representatives from every major space agency watched intently. The past year had changed everything. While the galaxy continued its Protocol 223, pretending Earth didn't exist, humanity had been busy. They had built this ship using knowledge accidentally discovered through imagination. "All systems match story specifications," John announced. "Ready for power-up sequence." Susan nodded, thinking about how they had reached this moment. The Centauri's fear of human creativity had pushed the galaxy to hide from Earth, but their attempt to contain humanity had only made humans look deeper into their own stories, finding more truth with each passing day. "Engineering reports all systems normal," said Carol Baker, her second in command. "The dream-inspired crystal matrix is functioning perfectly." The crystal matrix had come from another story, this one a poem about starlight and dreams. The author had described it as a way to fold space like paper. Scientists had laughed at the idea until they built it and discovered it worked exactly as described. Screens around the control room showed various alien ships in the area, all still pretending they couldn't see Earth. Their cloaking technology was useless against sensors designed using plans from a children's cartoon show. "Start the final countdown," Susan ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what human imagination can really do." The Starweaver's engines began to hum, following the exact sequence from the story. Energy patterns matched the teenager's description perfectly, right down to the color of the plasma flow. 10 seconds to faster than light, John called out. All readings matched the story's predictions. Susan watched as nearby alien ships suddenly noticed their activity. She could almost imagine their panic as they realized what Earth was about to achieve. A technology that had taken other species centuries to develop, humans had discovered through a student's creative writing. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The Starweaver jumped into faster-than-light travel exactly as the story had described. The sensation felt just like the teenage author had written, like being everywhere and nowhere at once, dancing between the stars. When they emerged at their target destination, Susan checked the sensors. Several alien ships had followed them, still maintaining their pretense of ignoring Earth while carefully watching everything humans did. "Send the signal," she ordered. Carol pressed a button, broadcasting the simple message on all frequencies. They used a communication method from an old radio drama, knowing the aliens would understand it perfectly. The message was simple. "Thank you for trying to hide your secrets from us. It helped us find them all." In the days that followed, more ships would launch using designs found in humanity's creative works. Each vessel carried technology that humans had imagined long before they knew aliens existed. The galaxy could keep pretending Earth wasn't there, but they couldn't stop humans from joining them among the stars. As the Starweaver began its journey home, Susan thought about all the science fiction still waiting to be tested. Somewhere in humanity's stories lay the next great discovery, the next impossible technology made possible through imagination. The galaxy had tried to contain humanity by ignoring them. Instead, they had forced humans to look inward, discovering that their greatest strength had always been their ability to dream up the truth. The real reason the galaxy pretended Earth wasn't there had become their key to the stars.